Hey guys, Tony, Circle Nation. Trump's on his way out, and so I kind of wanted to put a video out on some of the pros and cons of his administration. To start with some of the pros, I got 3 pros and 3 cons, but the first pro is, or the third pro, political incorrectness. A lot of the corporate media would disagree. They think this is like one of the most egregious things from Trump. But with that, even though he's using the idea of political incorrectness as a defense most of the times from what is a lot of times credible criticism, but with that, I feel like political correctness needs to be dead if it's not already dead. There's little things in politics that you'll notice if you study it that I think really don't have much of a place anymore. Like, politicians are trained. I think strategists tell them to not point with their finger like this when they're trying to make a point, but to actually use their thumb and their index finger. And I think that's one of the stupidest things if you're thinking about that type of stuff when working in politics, because if you're spending time to do stuff like that, then you're not spending time to actually fight for issues that people care about. People could, like, I know maybe you could lose a select few people, pointing, I guess, but who really is going to be like, oh, this dude pointed, so I don't really fuck with him. It's not how people think. People have families to take care of. People are getting evicted out of their houses. Like, we need to be addressing people where they are and caring too much about the idea of political correctness. It's so abstract and subjective that I really don't think it's too useful. Like, if you're in this game, you should be focused more on helping people directly, and that should be it. Yeah, sure, you should present yourself the best way, but, like, if it's so far that you're worrying about pointing instead of going like this, whatever the hell this means, then I don't see the point. But moving on from there, pro number 2, fake news. I know this is another thing Trump uses to, like, defend himself against credible criticism, but that doesn't change the fact that, just because news is coming from MSNBC, Fox News, CNN, the New York Times, the Washington Post, that doesn't mean it's true. And people hear that and you're like, well, that doesn't really make sense. Well, just because it's coming from these places doesn't mean that they're telling the objective truth, or whatever sources they have are 100% accurate. And even if what they're saying is technically true, that doesn't mean that they can't spew whatever they're saying to support whatever agenda they're trying to push, or to mislead it with whatever way they can. So with that, yeah, sure, like, a lot of the news stations, they'll get it right, 70, 80, 90% of the time, but I think you should be wary with information almost regardless of where you get it. Moving on from that, though, pro number one, dictator diplomacy. And I know it's weird, a lot of people will hear that like, what? But with what he did with North Korea and Kim Jong-un, it's I don't think it's anything short of historical. And you may not like the guy, you may have very good reasons to not like the guy, but what he did in North Korea, from my perspective, was absolutely necessary. And moving forward from that, I don't think we should turn away from the progress we've made so far. It's like, I'm not a fan of Kim Jong-un. I don't think the way he's running North Korea is a standard we should uphold. But with what we're doing, I can't see like the alternative of being like malicious or trying to be aggressive towards North Korea and Kim Jong-un is going to be beneficial. I can't see that. So, yeah, maybe, of course, like, you know, all the 3 pros that I have, maybe he only did that to, benefit himself in some type of strategical way, but I still think that was necessary. But moving on from the pros, now we have the cons. Con number 3. I think he was two-faced. I think on the campaign trail before he was elected in 2016, he would say things, and then once he led, like a lot of other politicians, he didn't deliver on those promises. He said he'd get us out of these wars. He failed to do that. A lot like Barack Obama. He said that he'd stop with the outsourcing. He failed to do that, a lot like Barack Obama. And so with that, you know, the news media will say that he's like the first politician that's lied, you know, and failed on his promises, but, you know, it's not completely true. But moving on from that, number 2 is the tax policy. It's a gift for the rich, paid for by the working class against their will. Only 30%, I think, supported this. Yeah, 30% supported this tax plan. I mean, 70% didn't. So how it got through, if you want to tell me, be my guest. Number 1, leadership. If he was a better leader, if he stopped trying to appease his base in the worst way and just focused on doing what was actually necessary, like with the coronavirus, if he just stopped worrying about the media blaming him and just tried to focus on how he could prevent people from catching it and prevent this from spreading at the rate that it was spreading, then we might be looking at a second term. But he failed to do that, and I think that's one of the reasons why we're not going to see a second term from him. And that's not even getting into the Muslim ban, getting into the kids in cages, but that's just how I look at it. You know, he had a couple of good things, or I can't even say good things, a couple of things that aren't terrible from his presidency, but definitely a lot of things that could have been better. Thanks for listening. God bless. Peace.